The clock struck 11 p.m., and the other side of the bed was still empty. Working late again, she had texted, a message that had become all too familiar over the past few weeks. I tried to shake off the unsettling feeling, telling myself it was just the demands of her new job, but things started adding up, or rather, they didn't. Her phone, once open and accessible, now required a password I didn't know. Whispered conversations in the other room and quick exits to take calls had become the norm. It wasn't just the late nights, it was the secrecy that gnawed at me. Mike said he saw her with someone at Marcos. Looked cozy. A friend's voice echoed in my head, a statement I had initially dismissed. Stress, I had convinced myself, was making me paranoid, misinterpreting innocent interactions. However, the same friend pulled me aside weeks later, his expression grave. I've got proof, he whispered, sliding his phone across the table. The image on the screen, a candid shot of her laughing with someone I didn't recognize, felt like a punch in the gut. Confrontation was inevitable. Is there something you need to tell me? I asked that evening, her arrival interrupting the silence of our now cold living room. The question hung in the air, a palpable tension building between us. There's nothing to tell, you're being paranoid, she retorted, her defense as swift as it was sharp. The denial was expected, yet it stung, the accusation of distrust adding salt to the open wound. The evidence was undeniable, yet her words attempted to sow the seed of doubt in my mind. Was I misinterpreting the situation? Or was the foundation of our marriage truly crumbling? The quest for truth became my sole focus, propelling me into a whirlwind of actions and decisions that would irreversibly change our lives. As shadows lengthened and the office buildings emptied, I found myself parked a discreet distance from her workplace. Anxiety gnawed my stomach, but determination steeled my resolve. When she finally emerged, her hurried steps didn't head towards home, but to a secluded park bathed in the golden hues of the setting sun. I followed, a silent specter in her wake. There, under the guise of anonymity provided by the dimming light, she met him. Their embrace, long and tender, shattered any lingering denials within me. From behind the cover of a tree, I captured their betrayal with my phone, each click a hammer to my heart, fueled by a mix of rage and despair. I confronted him the next day. Stay away from my wife, I demanded, my voice a controlled calm that belied the turmoil inside. He reeled back, genuine shock etched on his features. I thought she was single, he stammered, his admission doing little to quell the storm within me. Armed with undeniable evidence, I faced her that evening. The photos laid bare on the table between us served as the silent accuser in our confrontation. Her initial attempts at denial quickly crumbled under the weight of proof. I felt neglected, she confessed, her voice a mix of defiance and sorrow. The words struck me, a poignant reminder of the distance that had grown between us. Our argument spiraled, a maelstrom of accusations, justifications, and hurt. Yet, beneath the tumult lay a stark realization. The foundation of our marriage had cracked, not from this singular act of betrayal, but from a gradual erosion of connection and understanding. The path forward was uncertain, fraught with pain and the daunting task of rebuilding, should we choose it. But in that moment, the immediate agony of betrayal overshadowed all else, a vivid scar upon the fabric of our shared life. The moment hung between us, charged and heavy. You need to choose, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Her eyes, once familiar and warm, now held a tumultuous sea of indecision and fear. Please, I need time to think, she whispered, her pleas slicing through the remnants of my resolve. That night, the walls of our home felt suffocating, each photograph a stark reminder of happier times now tainted. In search of solace, I sought refuge at a friend's house, a temporary escape from the storm that had become my life. The silence there allowed my thoughts to race, contemplating futures I had never envisioned. The following day, amidst a haze of disbelief and anger, I found myself sitting across from a lawyer, discussing divorce proceedings. Are you sure about this? The lawyer asked, his voice a tether to the reality of the situation. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. But then, she reached out, her voice laced with regret and desperation. It was a mistake. Can we try to fix this? she asked. Against the counsel of friends and the jagged shards of my pride, I agreed to counseling sessions. A part of me clung to the hope of salvaging the ruins of our marriage. Counseling sessions began, a sterile room attempting to contain the raw, unruly emotions between us. She seemed distant during these sessions, her commitment as absent as the ring that once circled her finger. Doubt gnawed at me, a relentless companion whispering dark thoughts. Then, one evening, a glimpse of her phone shattered the precarious peace we had built. Messages, unmistakably planning to meet him again, flashed before my eyes, a digital confession of her unresolved feelings. The betrayal wasn't just repeated, it was deepened, reinforcing the chasm that had opened between us. Confronted with this new evidence, I was thrust back into the tempest of betrayal and hurt. The counseling, the attempts at reconciliation, all felt like a facade, a cruel charade played at the expense of my hope and forgiveness. The path forward was now shrouded in uncertainty and pain, a journey through the aftermath of broken vows and shattered trust. The air was thick with tension as we stepped out of the counselor's office, the last session ending on a note far from resolution. My mind raced, replaying the discovery of her messages, a fresh wound on an already battered heart. "We need to talk," I said, the urgency in my voice cutting through the hum of the busy street. Our conversation quickly escalated, voices rising despite the public setting. Accusations and hurt feelings spilled out, an open display of our fractured relationship. "I need space. I can't do this here," she said, turning away, leaving me standing alone amidst the chaos of our unraveling lives. The solitude of the house echoed my turmoil, a stark reminder of the chasm between us. Betrayal, once a foreign concept in our marriage, had become its defining feature. With a heavy heart, I began the daunting task of preparing for divorce, each step feeling like a betrayal of the vows we once shared. During this tumultuous time, my friend, the one who had first opened my eyes to the affair, stood by me. "You'll get through this," he assured me, a rock amidst the swirling currents of my despair. This support was a lifeline, a reminder that I wasn't navigating this storm alone. Amidst the paperwork and legal consultations, word reached me that she was seeking advice on how to mend the rift, to win me back. It was a sliver of hope in a dark time, yet my heart was guarded, fortified against further hurt. Then, she returned home, her presence filling the space that had grown cold in her absence. "I'm sorry, and I want to make this right," she said, her eyes searching mine for any sign of forgiveness. The sincerity in her voice tugged at the frayed edges of my resolve. We sat down, embarking on a marathon discussion about our future, if such a thing still existed for us. The conversation was raw, a candid exploration of the pain we had inflicted upon each other in the monumental task of rebuilding trust. The path forward was fraught with uncertainty, yet the mere act of dialogue, of opening ourselves to the vulnerability of healing, felt like a tentative step towards reconciliation. As the night wore on, our words carved out a tentative ceasefire, a fragile foundation upon which to rebuild. The journey ahead promised to be arduous, marked by moments of doubt and fear, but the possibility of redemption, however distant, sparked a faint glow of hope in the darkness. The decision to give our marriage another chance felt like stepping onto uncertain ground, but it was a step I was willing to take. We laid down clear boundaries, a framework within which we hoped to rebuild what had been damaged. It was a tentative beginning, but it was a thaw. We invested time in each other, carving out moments from our days to reconnect. I noticed a shift in her behavior. She was more open, more willing to share her thoughts and feelings. It was a change that breathed a cautious hope into the hollow spaces of our relationship. To further this newfound connection, we planned a weekend getaway. It was an opportunity to step away from the reminders of our past struggles and focus solely on us. Those days were a blend of conversations, laughter, and shared silences that spoke volumes. It felt like we were rediscovering each other, finding new depths in familiar waters. However, upon our return, a shadow fell across the brightness of our rekindling. She fell ill, a persistent malaise that prompted a visit to the doctor. The atmosphere was tense, charged with an unspoken fear of what might be uncovered. The news she brought back shattered the fragile peace we had built. "I'm pregnant," she said, the words hanging between us like a sword. The joy that should have accompanied such news was absent, replaced by a heavy silence. The timing was suspicious, a cruel reminder of the chasm that had once divided us. The turmoil of emotions was overwhelming. The specter of past betrayals loomed large, casting doubt on the paternity of the child. It was a question I wished I never had to ask, a doubt that pained me to voice. "We need a paternity test," I said, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. Demanding a paternity test was a decision that came from a place of hurt and uncertainty. It was a step back into the shadows, even as we had been moving towards the light. The future of our family, our marriage, hinged on the results of that test. It was a moment that held both the possibility of complete shattering and the hope for a stronger rebuilding, but it was a step we had to take to move forward, wherever that path might lead. The days dragged on, each one heavier than the last, as we awaited the results of the paternity test. The air in our home was thick with the tension of unspoken fears and the weight of impending truths. Our conversations, once on the mend towards normalcy, now skirted around the giant elephant in the room, each of us lost in our whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Then, the call came, a moment frozen in time. "I'm sorry," the voice on the other end said. "The results confirm you are not the father." The words struck with the force of a sledgehammer, shattering the fragile hope I had harbored. In that instant, the foundation of our rebuilt trust crumbled into dust. The revelation plunged us into a crisis unlike any we had faced before. Our marriage, already scarred by past betrayals, now teetered on the brink of an abyss. The future, once again, became a murky path, obscured by hurt and uncertainty. In the midst of this storm, she stood before me, tears in her eyes, voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. Please, can we find a way to get through this? Can we raise this child together?" Her plea cut through me, a stark reminder of the love that had once bound us, now intertwined with the pain of betrayal. Torn between the remnants of that love and the sharp sting of betrayal, I found myself at a crossroads. The decision before me was monumental, not just a matter of my relationship with her, but of the innocent life caught in our turmoil. Seeking guidance, I turned to friends and family, each conversation adding layers to my internal struggle. Opinions varied widely, from staunch support for a fresh start to warnings against the consequences of unresolved issues. The cacophony of advice left me more conflicted, a heart divided by love and hurt. In search of clarity, we returned to counseling, this time to navigate the treacherous waters of this new reality. The sessions were intense, raw opening of wounds and exploration of possibilities. We dissected our feelings, the deep-seated hurt, the lingering love, and the potential for forgiveness. Each session peeled back layers of pain and doubt, revealing glimpses of understanding and empathy. Yet, the journey was far from over. The path ahead promised challenges and required a strength I wasn't sure I possessed. But amidst the turmoil, a flicker of hope remained, a beacon guiding us through the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The decision to forgive wasn't made in a moment of clarity or a burst of enlightenment. It was a gradual realization, a deep understanding that the child, innocent in our turmoil, deserved a chance at a stable, loving family. My wife's plea for forgiveness, her remorse palpable, tipped the scales. Love, I realized, wasn't just a feeling but a choice to rebuild from the ruins of betrayal. Informing our families about the situation was our next step, one fraught with apprehension. The reactions were as varied as the individuals themselves, ranging from supportive understanding to palpable disappointment. Yet, beneath the cacophony of opinions, there was a thread of hope that we clung to, a belief in the possibility of redemption and healing. Preparations for the child's arrival marked a time of cautious optimism. Amidst discussions of names and nursery colors, there was an underlying current of our ongoing healing process. My wife severed all contact with the child's biological father, a decision that was both painful and necessary, underscoring her commitment to our family. The birth of the child was a watershed moment, bringing with it a deluge of emotions. The challenges were manifold, from sleepless nights to navigating our roles as parents under the shadow of past events. Yet, there were moments of undeniable joy, the first smile, the first steps, each a milestone that brought us closer together. Trust, once shattered, was painstakingly rebuilt, day by day, action by action. We focused on the well-being of our family, understanding that the foundation we laid now was critical for the future. Counseling sessions continued, a space where we could navigate our feelings and learn to communicate more effectively. The experience, as harrowing as it was, tested the very fabric of our marriage. Yet, rather than succumbing to the strain, we emerged stronger, more resilient. The commitment to each other, once questioned, was now renewed, fortified by the trials we had overcome. Accepting the child as my own was a journey in itself. Fatherhood, I discovered, transcends biology. It's a role defined by love, responsibility, and the unwavering support one provides. Embracing this role, I found a sense of purpose and fulfillment that transcended the initial turmoil. In the end, we emerged not unscathed, but undeniably stronger. Our marriage, tested by the fiercest of storms, stood as a testament to our